which has been historically in the last year and a half or so the MO for all the social justice warrior beta male cucks with the Antifa and BLM is loot, burn shit, break shit, beat people up for nothing other than the fact that you don't agree with them, which is in direct violation of the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights was created to protect you from government overreach. It protects you from the government. The government interjecting themselves in this situation is contrary to the Constitution. If they want to try to keep the peace, then they need to put a separation between us and them. The ones that are calling for blood, the ones that are trying to come after us, you create that separation, fine. If somebody's in there starting shit, we can remove them if it's our permitted event.
Right.
Now, whereas I'm recommending that we deny this permit, even after they already denied us the permit, they could come in and intermingle. We can form a barrier so that they can't get anywhere near any of the speakers, because that's one of our primary objectives, is the safety of the speakers. Let them get up there and let them get their message across without fear of being attacked. Now, again, they like these people like to go by the letter of the law. Okay, and I love this. Go by the letter of the law. Okay, under Title 5, Chapter 33, Section 2, technically, we are the unorganized militia.
Right.
By the letter of the law, we are the unorganized militia. Whether, ideologically, any one of the organizations chooses to say we're not a militia, by Massachusetts state law, that's been long established since colonial days. Starting in Salem, December 13th, 1636, the General Court ordered a militia be established for the common defense, and they mustered in early 1637 on the Salem Common. And if we see skinheads show up,
right,
they are not welcome.
Okay.
We don't want them there. I see those red laces. I see that shaved head. I see an anything racist tattoo. They're getting booted right out. We don't want them there. Like I said, my family looks like the United Nations, and I don't tolerate that shit. And none of us do. Because of the way the city did this, where they had 10 days administratively to approve or deny the permit, and they went, 38 days before they just ultimately denied it, which brought it way too close to the event to do anything about it, even to file an injunction in court. It wouldn't be heard by the time the event came. So I think it was either Shuttlesworth versus the city of Birmingham, Alabama, or Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, that since the city dragged their feet to the point where the case wouldn't be able to be heard in court prior to the event, we can engage in that right with impunity as if those ordinances didn't exist. This is Supreme Court constitutional case law. Other cities have done this in the past, and it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled against the cities that what they did was unconstitutional. They had 10 days. Actually, I want to say it was Murdoch, is the reason why there has to be a reasonable amount of time established for cities to respond. Yes, I was the city of Salem, the Park and Recs Department in the city of Salem. They were doing exactly what Boston was doing.
Right.
And one of the things is they like to ask the who, what, and why. Well, it's none of their fucking business. And I told them that in Salem. I said, it's none of your business. I said, why? I said, because I think it was the Shuttlesworth case, knowing the who, what, and why gives you people the discretion, or even one person the discretion, to deny the permit based on whether you or not. So the who, what, and why is none of your damn business. Again, that's been laid out by the Supreme Court. Are you going to take care of these people wearing masks to hide their identity in the commission of a felony? And he said, that law is not enforceable. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's not enforceable. They're concealing their identity in the commission of a felony. Because the second they turn from free speech to rioting, they become a felon. And by hiding their identities, it into a crime in the city of Boston. He equated that to extricating on the sidewalk or jaywalking.
Okay, so Ronaldo was an invited speaker at the last event, and he was denied access to the event. The police shut him out of the event. So he filed his own lawsuit on his own behalf, saying his First Amendment rights were violated. In the meantime, we invited him to speak at this event. So he's not an organizer, but he's an invited speaker at this event, and he filed an injunction weeks ago to get to force the city to give us a permit without the restrictions from August. He's also the attorney for Brandon, who he filed a lawsuit on his behalf for because the city slandered him, and he lost his job. And then the ACLU filed a lawsuit because the media was denied access to the last event. So as all these things were going on, the city called me a couple days ago. It was actually the deputy superintendent of the BPD, and he told me they would guarantee us. He never used the word permit, but it's pretty much a permit. He said the city would guarantee us the bandstand, that the media would be allowed in, and they would have a spot for them, and we could have our event with a setup at 10:30 and a start time at noon. But he said basically all the same restrictions from August would apply. So we would not be able to have signs, flags, and flagpoles. We would have all our protective gear taken away from us. The police would control who could and could get not into the event, basically denying the public out. They would have that same huge separation between the speakers and the public. They would permit us amplification, though, but they would still have that each dead zone. And they also wanted to search everyone coming in. So that was our biggest problem for the last event, that the city manipulated everything so that we couldn't have a rally. This is a public rally; it's not a private rally. We don't want to be searched. We definitely feel that being allowed to have signs and flagpoles is part of our expression and flags of what we want to represent. I want to have all these American flags there being waved. I want to be able to have signs to get our message out. And we want the public to be able to come in, and we don't want the police to take everything away from us while they refuse to do anything for all the counter protesters. And we want to have a much larger event. We have many more people coming this time, we think, because we've got them all together before the event, and we don't want the police limiting the size of the event so that they can bring vehicles up and evacuate us. And if there's too many people, they won't have enough vehicles. So Ken talked to the superintendent, and he told them we would not accept those conditions. We will not consent to being searched. We want to keep our protective gear. We want to wave our flags and signs. So that's where it stands now. In the meantime, Ronaldo had a emergency court date this morning to see if a judge will grant the injunction and force the city to give us a permit and not put all these restrictions on it. That's pretty much what's going on. Wednesday, he called me. Honestly, it's the same pattern as last time. Last time, they did not officially give a permit until 2 days before the event, and then they forced all the restrictions. My guess is the city's going to use the same playbook. They think it worked for them last time, so they will scuttle our event by making it impossible for us to plan. Then they'll issue a permit on the last minute to force us into this cage they're going to build. And then they'll control access in and out, so we can't have people that support us come in. And then they'll strip away our flags and signs, so we can't get our message out. And then they'll separate us from the crowd, so no one can hear us. And then they'll evacuate us in vehicles, just like last time. And we're not going to let that happen this time. And have the permit the same as normal procedures. Normally, I've been to Boston Common. I've seen many rallies there. Just walking through rallies, some permitted, some not, and never have I seen a rally where the police said that they can't have signs. They usually bring in sound amplification whether they have a permit or not, and the public is allowed to come and just show up and hear the speakers. And we want the same rights as all the other groups get.